My hope is that this sample will help direct you as you start to create your own project. As I tell the story, I'll stop occasionally and just kind of point out some things that are happening, kind of how my thought process is working, what I'm trying to accomplish, and you can kind of get some ideas of what kind of effort goes into making this story successful. First, before I even start the story, I want to let you know that I did begin by writing out a script, just kind of having some cues, some ideas of where this was going to go, what words I wanted to address and speak while I was showing certain images. I wanted the images to obviously correspond well with the story, so that there was some direction going with that. So a step you might want to consider is writing out kind of a draft first of where you're going to go with the story, how's it going to start, how's it going to end, etc., so that you have something to kind of follow. It is a little more difficult just to kind of talk your way through it if you have no clear direction of how the story is going to evolve. So the other part of this on the rubric, it talks a lot about transitions. I tried to emphasize the transitions and the sequencing by writing some key sentences actually on the presentation itself, so you can kind of see those sentences and how they are meant to work to help change either the pace of the story or take it in a different direction. So let's start with the story. A Porsche Carrera GT, a Mercedes-Benz, an SLR or an Audi Q7, and a Hummer H2. As I pulled my piece of crap 1992 Chevy Cavalier into the parking lot of Park City High School, these were the student cars I had to pass by in order to enter the school. I knew I was going to fill out a place because just one of those cars cost more money than my dad had earned in this past year. I wasn't really sure what a poor boy from a coal mining town could possibly teach these students that seemingly have everything they could ever want. So this is where I grew up. This is Price, Utah, the main street of Price, Utah. And of course, this is the main street of Park City, Utah. And what's interesting is they are both mining towns, but quite a different shift has occurred, obviously, in recent years with the type of money that exists in Park City and kind of the lack of money in Price, Utah. But the main streets actually look very similar, as you can kind of see as the two main streets kind of combine. But this was my first day of teaching as I came into Park City, and I wanted to put this sentence up here because it kind of shows a little bit of a shift here. It's putting us back into where the context of the story takes place. You'll notice that the first section kind of follows that second option of narrative that I gave you on the instructions, which was I started kind of in the middle of the action. What I'm about to do now is obviously kind of go back in time a little bit, flash back to where I was and what I was doing. So 1 month before this day, I was living in a tent with my wife and my son at the base of Bryan Head Peak, just outside of Cedar City, Utah. We had no toilets, no hot showers, no telephone service. I was working for a scout camp that summer, and my wife and I decided to save some money by staying in a tent at the camp so we wouldn't have to pay rent. At this point, I knew I wanted to teach. I just received my college degree and I had applied for several teaching positions across the country. I had 2 job offers that were tempting. A school in Las Vegas had offered me a job with some pretty high salary. I needed money desperately. However, raising a child in Sin City could be a challenge, and I didn't know if I really wanted to expose my son to kind of the darker side of human nature. My other job offer was in Park City, at Park City High School. Staying in Utah was not my first choice, but obviously it's a great place to raise a family, and I'm excited I'm here now. My wife and I decided that a healthy environment for our son was better than more money. Being young college graduates, we didn't have much stuff to pack. One truck load did all the work. The biggest problem we now faced was where to live. We couldn't afford housing in Park City. It was about $1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment, and on a teacher's salary, it just wasn't going to be possible. So after looking at several of the small outlying communities, Heber City became our home. I was a little nervous because our new neighbor did drive a jack-up truck with the Confederate flag hanging out the back window, but overall it seemed like a quiet little town. It was obviously different than the glamorous town of Park City I would be driving to every day with its fancy houses and nice cars, but overall it seemed like a good experience. As I entered my classroom on the first day of my teaching career, I knew I had to make a good impression on these elite students of Park City. I quickly found out what I had imagined my students to look like, act like, and live like was not true at all. These students were just like any of the students I have grown up with or have had access to. Um, any of the students I had worked with in any of the teaching programs, they had the same fears, desires, and problems that all high school students face. They cared about their future. They wanted people to notice them. They wanted to make a difference in the world. No matter how many times you're told not to judge a book by its cover, we constantly need reminders that people are inherently good. No matter where you come from, what your background is, or what kind of car you drive, people have more in common with each other than they think. I'm glad I teach at Park City High School. I love the lessons that my students continue to teach me. So that's my story. A couple things I was trying to accomplish through the story. I wanted to show that Park City does have this kind of this prescribed stereotype, this idea of what people look like and act like and feel like, and it does look that way. Even looking at the high school right now, it's a very beautiful building. A lot of people think that there's a certain type of attitude that exists there. I definitely felt like that was what I was walking into, and I was definitely changed by just a few days with the kids and understanding kind of what they're about. I really wanted throughout the story to try to show kind of like that juxtaposition between the two communities and how on the surface it might look very different, but as you start to put them together, there's a lot of similarities. That people in general have a lot of common things. A couple things in terms of the sentences I listed that we're trying to accomplish. Some of the pacing, some of the shorter sentences I wanted to place where things kind of change in terms of the speed of which the story is told. Some of the longer sentences obviously wanted to slow down and be more thoughtful. The punctuation tries to help reinforce some of the themes and the tones and the ideas. In terms of what your project should look like, if it helps to have some sentences placed here so that you can have those cues and some things that can kind of keep you focused and that can show that change, that emphasis, that would be helpful. That would be great. If you feel like you can do that solely by just communicating and talking, then that's fine. The key thing that we're looking for here, though, is your ability to tell the story with the idea of kind of creating some tones, creating a purposeful sequence of events and why things are going the way they're going. Part of that's just kind of having that good plan from the beginning. So some outlining is definitely in your best interest. And I hope you have some success on this. Good luck.